This is Sep. In this video, I want to share with you how you can eliminate the chances of you failing by introducing more suffering into your life. Now, the reason why most of you don't hit your goals, your targets, any target that you set in place is because there's too much resistance and you're avoiding it and you don't have a good relationship with suffering. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how you can solve that, how you can sprinkle a little bit more suffering into your life, and actually how to hit your goals. So let's get right into it. So recently, I was watching a podcast by Cristiano Ronaldo, and it reminded me of the reason why most of us don't hit our goals. So I had to break down exactly what it is that we're avoiding and what it actually is that we have to solve for, which is suffering. But this is how most people's reality look like. You have your goal set in place. Let's say it's 10K a month, right? You want to do the work. Let's say at nighttime, you start drafting on pen and paper, on a notepad, your goals. Oh, I'm going to send 100 DMs. I'm going to do 100 cold calls. I'm going to do this. I'm going to create a YouTube video, and I'm going to run some ads, right? And you wake up, it's time to get it. You go drink your coffee. You go do a little meditation, go for a little park, walk in the park, and you come, and now it's already 11 a.m. You're like, you know what? I'll start the video tomorrow when I'm a little bit less tired. So I'm going to start doing the cold calls, when people are more awake, maybe 9 a.m. When I'm going to start sending the emails when it's all warmed up and ready to go. So there's resistance that comes and hits. Resistance that stops you. It goes back to your original doubtful self that this goal might not be attainable right now. Let's just slow it down a little bit. Let's take our time. We'll get there eventually. But you're losing time. You're losing everything. So what you really have to do is not avoid resistance and not be in your feelings. So because when you hit resistance, you're bringing back those loser feelings, right? And you go back to your actions, the same 1.0 that can't hit his goals, okay? So here is a solution to that. And I've introduced this to myself quite a bit because I do some time tracking. I use different apps, which we'll get into a different video, and I'll break down how you could actually 12-hour day work process in a different video if you come back to this channel. The goal of hitting the 12-hour day is a goal that gets hit with a lot of resistance. So I use different tools to measure that, for example, Rise. But I've noticed when I started putting into effect this idea of suffering, right? Like, hey, we're not going to finish, we're not going to get up from the seat until that clock goes to 0, and then we can go, do whatever you have to, take a short little break, go for a little fresh air, whatever it is. Where prior, I wouldn't care about the clock. I would just pause it and I would go. I would suffer too much. Oh man, your brain is getting too much, can't handle. It's an overdrive and you get hit with resistance. So the solution to this is this. You got your goal. Let's say I'm going to hit 10K a month. When resistance comes up, what happens? You have to get reminded. Oh, here it is. Now we got to introduce some suffering. Now we got to suffer to it. Let's just push our limit, your mind, your body, your comfort level. Let's push it. We're not going to get up from the seat. Again, remember that reminder. The reminder is what gets you there on point, right? This works with anything. If you want to quit cigarettes, if you want to quit anything in life, there's that trigger, that reminder when you start feeling resistance, that reminder, that self-talk that you have. Oh, we're going to introduce some suffering. Let's get to it. And when you get to the suffering, you hit completion and you unlock your new self. Now you can hit 12 hours a day. Right? If you follow the system, you can continuously hit 12 hours a day of work, and you can make it easier for you. And if you want to track it and actually get there, you will get there. Because I did this myself. I would start tracking my hours. Okay, the target is 12 hours. First week, I found myself doing 4 hours max for people. Not a lot of suffering, not a lot of there was some resistance, and it led me to taking long breaks and 4 hours max of peak productivity. I'm not talking about scattered productivity. I'm talking about deep work productivity. Next week, I was more on track on it, and I realized I hit 6 hours. Let's hit 6 hours, and then 8 hours, and now we're here at a point. 12 hours is right around the corner. It's the same thing for you. The more you increase that muscle of suffering, the more you get used to it, and the more you manage your time, the better. For example, I found out that if I go on my phone and I go to the settings and I just cut out Safari, right, put some restrictions on it, and just take it out, it freed up so much time. And the screen time, I noticed my screen time was 3-4 hours sometimes 5 hours on average. That's a lot. That's quite a bit. Let's get that down to 30 minutes. Slowly brought it down to a couple hours, which is exactly what you should be doing too. You start eliminating those things, and sure, it's a little bit tricky. It starts pulling you into this direction a little bit, right? It has power over you, these devices, these addictions, I should say. But if you start hitting that reminder, like, oh, yo, this is what we have to do. We have to eliminate the screen time so we can get our time back. We have to eliminate this so we can get our dopamine back, so we can start working and get better with the process, which is become friends with suffering. All right. So after I did that, I noticed so much time, so much more. You feel so much more better. Your dopamine is not scattered. Your energy is not scattered. All these posts, whatever it is it's all depleting your energy, right? So you have more time to come get creative, create, and do the process. Now, if you go watch this podcast with Cristiano, he actually talks about the same principle, which over here is like, he's saying right here, the deal with me was that the main point, the big switch of my life was to suffer. So the reason why Cristiano is so successful is because of his early on suffering in his life. And it got introduced to him at early on. He was blessed to get hit with that suffering early on. He got hit with it at 11 years old. He had to get shipped out of the house, go to a camp, cry himself to sleep every night, which he was saying, away from his family, and basically suffer for quite so many years. So he became introduced to suffering early on, which led him to where he is at today. You also have to do the same thing. You need to become introduced to more suffering. When resistance comes up, the reminder, oh, we need to suffer. Let's hit completion and unlock our new self. And that's the way you do it. That's the way you hit the 10K goals. And if this video was helpful to you, make sure you check out another video where I break down how you could track your time so you could actually hit 12 hours a day in the next video here. Check it out. I'll see you on the other side.